What up, Disco Souls? How are you doing this morning? I know, it's been a minute since we've did the thing, but it's also been really busy. And so I thought I would come on here today and kind of just give you a lay of the land, what we've been up to, what's changed since early to late spring, I think was the last video, and show you some of the things that we've done around the property since then. And kind of talk a little bit about what we're gearing up for as we move into like winter and stuff like that. Can you hear that? We got a hawk someplace. There's a hawk, it sounds like it's like mating. Anyway, so I figured I would take you along, show you how the garden's doing, some of the big changes since the last time we did our thing. And just tell you what we're going to be up to this winter, and some other things that we're kind of doing, planning, you know, the whole shebang, as they say. So come with me. We're going to go for a little cruise around the yard. First and foremost, probably the big thing you'll notice is that we have chipped off this whole little area in front of our house with the help of Chip Drop. This was an area that was just a pain in the butt to mow. And so we figured we would chip it off and then eventually start to extend our kitchen herb garden kind of out into this area, as well as our echinacea path, really bring some of this out into here just so that we don't have to mow it. Another thing that we also recently did, which isn't really garden related, but I'm pretty proud of myself, is that we painted our outside covered patio. It used to be white. It was really dingy. But yeah, I decided to paint it black. We had black trim on our windows, so I kind of painted all the trim around all of our doors. And then I decided to paint this. There's only a little bit left that we have to do, so I have to get into the rafters up there with a brush and just kind of finish it up. I did most of it. There's just kind of a couple squares I still need to do. And we're also painting the downspouts. It worked really well with the downspout over there, so I'm looking to possibly do this. It is a little bit damaged, kind of in this area. So we've also talked about maybe replacing it, but money and whatnot, so we may not do that. Garden expansion. So we have kind of slowed down a little bit on our massive idea, just because we're still trying to figure out what we're going to do. So initially, I think the last time we chatted, we were talking about taking the fence line, taking this side out and moving it all the way down there. We're still thinking about doing that, but baby steps. You know, we're going to do it a little bit slower than trying to get it done over the winter, all that. But we are still cranking away on the little plot that we put here. And so we started to put down some chip drops from where we solarize. Now you can see solarizing, it does really, really well. Once you take that fabric back though, you do start to get some sprouts. So you can see right there, we're already starting to get some of those weed sprouts to come back in. That's to be expected. You usually want to do like a couple rounds of solarization to let those weed seeds sprout, cover it back up, kill the new weed seeds, etc., etc. But I will say that it does also come back in fury. And so we are already kind of starting to see some of that come back pretty quickly. But we're hoping that we get it filled over. So we did one little portion. We just got another chip drop. We're hoping to kind of keep on keeping on, if you know what I mean. Also, you'll notice that we have these metal beds. So we have one here and then we have one over there. Those were gifted to us from one of Nick's work colleagues, friends. They gifted that to us. So we picked them up for free. And that's an awesome addition to our garden. So we're really excited about them. Another thing that we have done is we have also used the chips to kind of chip off this area. So we chip from the garden all the way down. And this is all chipped. We're going to be moving that at some point. We're going to be moving the fig tree at some point. Chipped all the way down. and started to curve in. We're also going to be, now this is not the final, trust, this is not the final, but we're trying to repurpose some of our old pavers that came with the property, and we're going to make our fire pit out here. So we're going to move the fig tree. The fire pit will probably go right where the fig tree is. We'll obviously do a proper installation of those pavers. And then this area we can plan to continue to bring more shrubs and plant matter in. So we're going to be moving some lilacs a little bit thicker into this area. Those are 3 chase trees. We're going to be moving this, probably taking it out. But let's take a look at it real quick, because this was like a late summer experimentation where I just planted some seeds just to plant some seeds. So we did some green beans. They're looking kind of rough right now. That's okay, because we typically aren't even like big on the green beans, but they're here. They're growing. Looks like we even got some that went to seed or dried, so they'd be great for seed. So that's pretty awesome. And it looks like it's even continuing to bud. All right. We also did some bottle gourds at like the last minute, and it looks amazing. Look at that. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we got 9 bottle gourds. They're on the smaller side, but that's pretty awesome. Never grown them before. Birdhouse gourds, I think is what they are typically known as, and that's kind of why we grew them. Never done it before, so we'll see what that processing is like, but it's still exciting nonetheless. Compost. Compost right now is filled to the brim. Look at that. And thank God we got some rain, because it helped to decompress it just a little bit. But this is our year 1. We have been putting garden matter in there. Obviously, we still have quite a bit more to add. So we'll see how well this compacts down. I mean, it's definitely pushing the gate away, so to speak. But it's looking good. All kinds of stuff that's in there right now. This is our year 2, also looking really, really good. So we're excited about our compost. Let's go in. Oh, wildflowers are pretty much spent for the year. They are falling down all over the place. I've been collecting seeds like crazy. That's something I'll get into a little bit later. But what I do find interesting, here, let me bring you over here. We ended up having some cosmos. They just look gorgeous. And I don't even know if you can fully see them with like how the sun's coming up, but they are huge. They are huge. That's almost as tall as the mammoth sunflowers that we had planted there, which was like around 10, 11 feet. So that's just crazy to me. Crazy. Dogs are in the garden with us. Pray for us. Okay, so here is the garden. I'll give you first an overview. It's looking good. We just had, like I said, we just had some rain, so that kind of makes it look less crispy, so to speak. We did plant some late sunflowers and zinnias back here to fill in the place of the hollyhocks that I removed. But you know, it's doing its thing. You know, the zinnias are kind of looking spent. Our garden phlox is looking spent. That's okay. That's normal. Definitely overrun with grass in this area, but not to worry. We have a plan for really the whole garden, and again, I'll get into that. But this will be kind of cleaned out and whatnot. Man, look at that. Look how beautiful that is. It's still going, man. It is still going. So beautiful. So we are starting to do some clean out in the garden, slowly but surely. You know, there's certain things that we're letting kind of go and doing different things. But one of the first big things that we removed was our tomatoes. So as you can see, the trellis is completely open. We will not be doing tomatoes on a arch trellis next year. It wasn't worth it. I mean, we're going to probably do more arches in the future, and obviously we're going to do tomatoes on trellising in the future, but maybe not tomatoes and an arch. It was hard to reach them. It barely kind of crested over the top. It just wasn't worth it. So we're going to nix that next year. That's okay. I planted some peas in this area to utilize this space. Those are starting to come in gorgeously. Look at those mint green leaves. Absolutely gorgeous. We also put in some carrot seed. So if you can see, we're starting to get some carrots. We already had some carrots in here before. I just added some more seed, and hopefully we get a little bit more of that. I'm not seeing any on this side, and I did plant some on that side. So we'll see how that goes. Over here were our bush beans. So our pinto and our black beans, if you remember. And what was interesting is they looked like they died back. It lost all of its leaves. It looked like it had rust or mildew or mold, whatever. Like the leaves all kind of like started to do this and then they died back, which is usually a sign of like disease or that's bad. But I'll tell you what, temperatures cooled down and this thing is loaded more now than it was before. And I still have a bunch of beans that I need to shell that I've been collecting since summer. But we left it even though it looked tawdry, and she's flourishing. She's come back. We also planted some, I put a couple beans in here, or excuse me, peas in here, so we'll see how they're doing. Did I say peas over here? These are peas. If I didn't say that, I apologize. But I also put in some radishes. So we've got some radishes that are starting to come in and they're looking great. There's another one right there. So we've got peas and radishes that we added in for the fall, and they look like they have germinated and are growing and looking fabulous. So that's exciting. Also, this gorgeous marigold that seemed to have sprouted at some point and has just been living in this space, and it just looks so beautiful. And this is fun fact, not fact, but this is fun. So we have this elderly bee that is, I think, you know, starting to pass away. Definitely slowed down. Oh, look at her dog. Look at her. Look at her. She thinks she's being sneaky, eating the beans. Anyway, but I've been keeping an eye on this buddy. I actually saw him on the ground yesterday and picked him up with a stick and put him back on a flower. I'm just letting him live his best life before it's the end. He's so cute. All right, pepper bed. We've been picking peppers like crazy. My favorite pepper of all times is doing wonderful. I have made so much crushed cayenne pepper this season. It's not even funny, and it just keeps producing, and I love that because that's one of my favorites. We also had some cubanellas in here. We just recently did a really cool video on making a hot hoagie pepper spread out of a mix of hot peppers and sweet peppers because we just had so many. So we ended up putting the cubanellas with some pastilabajos in there. Oh, so good, so good. It's a nod to our old home up in the Northeast, kind of like the Philly area. We also have tons. Now it does look like this fell over, so that is what it is. Like I said, we just had rain, so that's kind of what's doing it. But we have been leaving our spent basil to flower. Now I've already picked some flowers from this earlier in the season. I make tea out of it for, you know, wintertime. Basil is known as a calming herb, and particularly lemon basil is just phenomenal in a tea. So I ended up picking some flowers. Right now, I am leaving this for two reasons. One, for the bees, because not right now, because it's morning, but typically in the afternoon, this is loaded with bees, all kinds of bees. And being that, you know, winter's fast approaching, it's great to leave plants like this in the garden if you can. Like if you have space and you're not using it to plant anything for the fall crop or whatever, it's great to leave this in here for those pollinators so they can get a little extra juice before winter hits. You know what I'm saying? Just hook them up. Why not? So this bar is fully stocked and loaded for them at the Disco Club, and I'm here for it. But also, I am planning to, again, I've been really into seed saving this year. And so I am planning to let this go to seed, brown up, collect those seeds, and have enough lemon basil so that I can start another patch next year, since it's one of my favorites, and not have to buy seeds. I mean, that's ultimately some of the things that we're trying to learn and do here at the Disco Garden, is how can we sustainably keep our garden year after year after year and do it with as little money as possible, so that at some point it starts to pay us back instead of us paying out. Because I do hear a lot of people talk about gardening and like, oh, well, that tomato cost you how much money? You think you're saving money, but really you're not, because of the water and the dirt and the infrastructure and all these things. And while that's true, in like the first couple of years, if you refine your practices and put in the work, over time, gardening actually does save you money. Because if you're saving those seeds and you're starting those plants from what you grew the previous year, that's money you don't have to spend that upcoming year. If you already have the dirt and the beds, you're not spending that year after year. So those items, from a financial stance on the books, start to depreciate over time. So if you have a bed that lasts you 10 years and it initially cost you $100 to put that in, year after year, that price of that bed decreases in the long haul. So at any rate, I'm sure financial people will understand that. I'm not saying that I'm a financial person. I'm just trying to say, rethink that, like, how you think of these things, because I do hear a lot of people discourage or kind of give this negative side to gardening, producing your own food and stuff like that. And I think it's more of that like modern, everything needs to be now, work smarter, not harder mentality. And while I think that there's value in those thought processes, I also think that, like, think a little bit broader than that. Think the long haul. Think about the skills you're gaining. Think about the healthy foods you're getting. Think about the infrastructure you're creating for that future. Anyway, I'll get off my rant. There she goes again. There she goes again. Dottie, what are you doing, girl? What are you doing? You getting in there? Oh, I caught you on camera. I caught you on camera. So basil, we love, multi-purpose for keeping it in the fall. If we pan over here, these were our garlic beds. There were 2 of them, if you remember. This one is currently holding some marigolds, which have sprouted up late in the season. We'll see how they do. They probably won't do much, but nonetheless, it's something there. We have our red chard. I forget this, Vulcan chard, I believe is what it's called. It's not doing as hardy as our other chard, but I think that's because it had a lot of wildflowers here that were shading it. But now that the temps are cooling down, it's really starting to come into its own. And look at that. Look at that leaf. Look at that leaf. Gorgeous. Look at all those colors. Guys, I'm telling you, food is amazing. Whatever they sell, look at that. It's like glistening in the sun hitting it. I think I also put some spinach in here, which I have not seen germinate yet. Really, I haven't seen it germinate anywhere in the garden yet, which is kind of concerning, because I do like to get some spinach before the season winds down and whatnot. But I digress. So we have this little bed over here. I'm not sure if it'll last forever. But we do have a really beautiful second flowering of our lavender plant, which we tend not to do very well with lavender in this region. I think sometimes it gets a little too hot, too wet. So it's very nice to see some of the lavender, particularly the ones I did from seed, actually doing well. We also have a half-price salvia that I rescued from like Lowe's or something like that. These may not stay here forever, but they're here for now, and they're thriving. And also it looks like we have some more marigold seeds starting to pop up. Again, we'll see how they do. I do have some saffron crocuses in here that I planted. I'm not seeing them come up at all, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. Okay, so again, we also have so we have our mints in the pots. I'm letting them I'm also letting them kind of go to seed. I'm curious. I am not seeing any seed produced, but I need to do a little bit more research. I've never saved mint seed before. Imagine it's like everything else. But I'm just letting them kind of do their thing. And then we also have my favorite petunia, which, ooh, butterfly. Which we tried to save the seeds, but I think that they purposely make it sterile so that you have to buy more. And that's okay. And then let's see. Long beans are still thriving and doing their thing. We've had so many long beans this season that like our freezer is stocked. Much less what we've also eaten and what we let the dogs have, as you can see. Look at her. We let them do that because if you remember back, and I don't think I posted on YouTube, but we call this bed is like our doggy bed. So a lot of the foods that we have planted in here over the season are specifically for them. So it would be like carrots, it would be the long beans, because long beans are like their favorite. And so with that, this bed's kind of their bed. As long as they don't rip the trellising down, which I don't think that they could do, we let them have a little fun. But in this bed beyond the long beans, and real quick, as you can see, we are starting to try to save some seed if the seed is possible. Now, a lot of these shrivel up and it's like they don't create the seed, which is a little strange. Although this one looks like it would be a good seed one, the one that she's eaten, but I digress. We have sorrel on the ends. That's looking lovely. We've got some, what is that called? Why am I blanking on the name? But it's a plant that tastes just like celery without like the watery celery part that everyone likes to eat. This is great for saving as a seasoning and then, dehydrating, chopping up. And if you need to make like celery salt, I don't know why I'm blanking on the name, but we have that. We have done some carrots in the bottom of this for the winter. We'll see how that goes. This past spring, carrots were not great in that bed. Looks like we got some sort of fungus, or not fungus, bugs, stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes. Here's the other side of the beans. This side's the black beans, which has a beautiful purple flower. And then again, you come over here, and again, we're flanked with some mint, some lemon basil that I'm letting go, and it's a win. One cool thing, if we pan over here, so this was a throw together bed. This was our sweet potatoes last year. And it was going to be our sweet potatoes this year. But we could not find sweet potatoes, and we got all up in our head. And so we were like, okay, well, let's just throw in some extra starts that we had into this bed and just make it a mosh posh. And it worked out really good. So we put in some extra peppers, marigold, we put in dill, basil, which you can see the Genovese basil here. You name it, we mixed it into this bed. Even cowpeas, and they have done well. As you can see, they grew up these trellises that we put in for different things like the peppers and all different kinds of stuff that was growing in here. And they've been doing really well. Another cool thing that happened though, and I don't know because I haven't done a spore print, but down here, we had an outcropping which looks like, now it doesn't look so good now, but it looks like reishi, which is a medicinal mushroom. Look at the rings on that. Gorgeous. We have not done a spore print, so obviously we're not going to eat it without confirming. But how cool is that if that just like randomly like showed up in the garden? I love that kind of stuff. I'm going to move down over here back to where we kind of were and show you, because it's starting to die back, so it's not as pretty, but man, I'll tell you what, it really took over. So if you come over here, this was our watermelon, and we ended up doing strawberry watermelon, which has put watermelons everywhere. We've already eaten like 3 or 4. These things get massive. Like, look at this thing. Look at that. 2 of our watermelons, our largest ones, ended up being like 27 pounds a piece. And this one looks just as large, if not larger. This one might be ready. We're planning to kind of take this out this weekend because, you know, it's getting time. These 2 beds here are going to be our fall garlic beds this year. So we've got to start prepping these beds. And being that the watermelon's kind of starting to go down, I think we've had our fill. Look, I mean, this is how crazy. So we've got a watermelon here. We've got 2 watermelon here. We've got a watermelon there. Little baby one that's dying. Who knows what's in there? That's the one thing that we are making a point. We literally say it every year, and we don't honor ourselves that we are not going to put things like pumpkins, watermelon, vining squash, that kind of stuff in the garden because it sprawls everywhere. And you know what we do every year? We put it in the garden, and it ends up turning into this. This is no good, guys. This is a lot of grass with a lot of seed on top. So we're a little nervous. I'll just spill the beans now. We are starting the process of changing everything over to wood chips in our pathways. We're going back to basics. We're going back to what we did 2 years ago. Because of chip drop, it makes it viable for us to be able to keep up with it. That was the problem that we had before. So when we did wood chips before, we actually purchased the mulch, which, if you guys know, is not cheap. At that point, we were in a different financial situation. Both Nick and I were working full time. I was making really good money, so we could do that. However, things change. Or you just don't really want to spend that kind of money on those things when you're trying to maybe redo your house or other things. So we didn't keep up with it. The grass came back. It took about 2 years. So it did tide us over really well as a method. We just didn't keep up with it. So this past year, we're like, what's a semi-cheaper method? Well, we lay down fabric, ag fabric, and put straw on top. And our plan was, at the end of the season, we take the straw up, we put the straw into the beds to decompose, give, kind of that cycle, prepare the soil for next year. And then we would just get new straw, lay that on the ag fabric, rinse, repeat. And technically it's cheaper, but it in no way kept the grass down as well as chips. So that's a big plan, is little by little, and you'll see an area of the garden where we've kind of already started to get back to our old method. And so we're really excited about that. But anyway, ooh, it's up there. You hear that? Birds are going crazy. Sorry to digress, but I love the birds. They teach us so much. It's been so cool to observe them over the seasons, just kind of doing their calls, seeing them fight. Hummingbirds this past summer, late summer, have been absolutely amazing to watch. I can't say enough. I love the birds. But it seems like we might have a hawk that's up in that tree. It sounds like it's a mating call, but I'm not 100% sure if in late fall that's what's going on. Look, he's over there. He's over there. See him? He's flying over there. I don't know if you can see him. Gorgeous. Okay. So yeah, so this weekend, God willing, we will be taking all the watermelon out, harvesting the last of the peppers and the cowpeas. Dottie is straight up eating cowpea vines. Dottie, you realize those are cowpea vines, right? Or you're eating the cowpeas themselves. Gotcha. I hear you, girl. I hear you. Okay. And then trying to clear out this path. So I digress. I've been talking way too much about that. Let's move on. Dottie, why are you eating all the beans? Why are you eating all the beans, girl? All right, so over here, like I said, we are going to be doing wood chips everywhere. We're taking out the borders. It's just going to be wood chips with the plants mixed into it. We're going to be moving, and I think I've said this in a previous vlog, we're going to be moving the water over to kind of this area of the pathway, including even that. We're going to move it all here, make a central spot for it, and then everything over is going to be pollinator bed, where we're incorporating either things that we already have that are perennial growing in here, like the sorrel, the lavender, the coneflower, the salvia, all of those sorts of things, and bringing more in, like butterfly weed and different things of that nature. This right here was some chamomile. It's done. That's okay. It really gave a lot this year. And we want to do more chamomile next year. This was the first year that I could successfully, man, that hawk is just circling. It's awesome. This was the first year that we even got chamomile to flower, which is huge. It was something I've struggled with like every year up to this point, all 4 years. So you best believe that I was out here every day picking flowers. And if there's any more, I'll probably be picking them too. But we want to do more. We want to bring more chamomile everywhere we possibly can because A, it's beautiful, it smells amazing, and the more I can harvest to have tea, I'm happy about that. Over here we have, well, first off, we have some anise, hyssop, basically, which is being bent over by the chicory. So we have our chicory plant back there and its stalk that has seemed to laid here. It's beautiful. When it flowers, it just looks gorgeous. I wish it would stand up. We've recently cleared this area out. So our butternut squash, as you see here, it's winding down. It's winding down. I've done a little bit of cleanup because it was all over the top of the trellis. Dottie, do you need to leave the garden? Are you guys going to get zoomies? Guys! Come on, goofballs. Enough. Out of the garden. Guys. Oh, geez. They get like this sometimes. Go on. Guys, out of the garden. Winston. Dottie. Oh, my goodness. Come on. Over here. Oh, geez. Come on. They're playing like hide and seek in the garden. It's the cutest thing ever, but man, I'll tell you what. Hey! You just, oh no, our little bee friend, get out of the garden. Come on, guys. If you messed with my bee friend, I'm going to be so out of the garden. Okay, enough. Okay, now it's getting too crazy. She's a very strong alpha, and she's like real food protectant. Dottie, out of the garden. Winston, out of the garden. Come on, bub. Dottie! Come on, out of the garden. Go. Gosh darn it. Come on, Winnie, out of the garden. Good gracious. Oh, she just like totally like plowed herself into the cart over there. Let me go make sure my bee friend's okay. Probably not. Oh, he's okay. Oh, thank God. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. Okay. Good gracious. And they're still out there doing their stuff. Ah. Anyway, so butternut squash, it's teetering back, but then simultaneously putting on more blooms. We've got a couple in the ground. Some are rotten. That's okay. We've gotten really good harvests out of it. Like they're laying everywhere. But this whole back area was like covered in them. Like this whole back area, even into this bed. That's why it looks kind of like barren-esque, because I've been starting to try and clear it out. But this is a winner for us. Next year we will be doing more butternut squash. We might even be doing it on the arch trellis. That might just be a better match for this, and possibly out in that new area that I was showing you. But yeah, this was, when it came to bugs and things like that, this did really, really well with not being susceptible to the bugs. So out of all of our squashes and things of that nature, this one ended up being the winner. Medicine beds are doing fabulous. As you can see, they are just thriving. We've got a little bee friend here who's getting a little morning snack on the rose mint. And in this particular area, I am trying to save as much seed as I can from the different plants. I think we're going to take our medicine beds and move them over more towards that fire pit area and open these up for potential fruits and veg and stuff like that. But toothache, I mean, look at that. That's been one of our favorites this year. It's been absolutely amazing. We'll be growing that again. I've harvested so much, and as of late, I've been harvesting it for the seed mainly. Lemon balm, as you guys know, takes over everything. Rose mint, I'm saving seeds from that. Absolutely gorgeous, smells amazing. Pollinators love it. It just, I mean, it's giving. Look at that. All season long it's been giving. I don't even think the camera really, maybe that does. It's like ultraviolet, you know what I'm saying? And how it grows and peaks up. It's just absolutely amazing. Lemon balm, it really does kind of take over. I mean, it's even kind of taking over like yarrows under there, and it's kind of taking that over. Obviously, it's lemon balm, but lemon balm is such a great medicinal herb, great for nerve pain and things like that. So it's hard to not want to grow it in the future, if you know what I mean. You just have to find the right spot for it. Horehound, which is great for throat ailments, making teas out of it for throat ailments. I did not harvest as much of this as I thought. I harvested enough so that I have some for tea, but I haven't done it like a ton. And you would harvest obviously like the leaves like right here, but it is going to seed. And so I've been trying to harvest some of the seeds so that, again, if we decide to move it, we've got that ready to go. Right over here, this was in the spring, this was our broccoli bed. I think there were some other things that we did in here. Broccoli, spinach, all of that kind of stuff. Once that was done, it just kind of became a makeshift bed similar to that one for whatever else we could plant. I ended up putting in a poblano plant that was doing horrible in a pot. So I ended up putting that in here. It bounced back to life in middle July, and we did a huge harvest a couple weeks ago. We did an amazing, I'm going to say that again. We did an amazing dinner with it, where Nick did kind of a take on chili rellenos, but it was more like a bake where we didn't stuff the peppers. We just put the peppers in and kind of did this like bake with the chili rellenos batter on top, and oh, so good. We want to do that again. And the skin was so tender that we didn't even have to take the skin off. That's how amazingly fresh and good those peppers were. We've danced with the idea of maybe overwintering this plant because we did that last year and had success with our jalapeno. But the jalapeno ended up dying mysteriously in the middle of the summer. It ended up not being hot jalapeno anyway, so we weren't too heartbroken over it. And it just took up space and all of that kind of stuff. And honestly, growing from seeds, not that hard. For fall, we've planted a hodgepodge of stuff. And it does look like I'm starting to see some seeds start to pop up. It looks like we've got a little carrot seed that's coming in the middle of some clover that's in there. I don't see anything over here just yet. Let's see. I'm not seeing tons of stuff. I am seeing some stuff. Looks like we definitely got some weed seed in there. These marigolds have just exploded and just look absolutely gorgeous. I have never been a marigold fan as a gardener. I hate to say it. But it's the truth. I've never really been a marigold fan until this year. I know that I've always known the benefits against nematodes and things like that. But I just never found it to be a beautiful flower, or I don't know what my deal was with it. But this year we went whole hog with it and spliced it in and planted it, whether it was starts that we purchased or seed. And it has been, I don't know, it's just so beautiful, particularly when it's in mass. So, and we have a couple different varieties. We have like kind of your standard smaller ones, and then out in our wildflower patch and even in our garden, it fell over, but even in our garden, I think it's like an African variety, so it gets pretty tall. Both are just so beautiful. I've been saving seeds for all of them because, yeah, we definitely want to put marigolds in like every bed. I want to have like whole pathways. I'm smitten with marigolds. I digress. Sorry guys, I'm trying to keep it on point. Like I said, watermelons growing up through all of the beds. I do have some seedlings that are popping up here. I honestly cannot remember what I planted on this side. I think it's spinach. I think that's a little seedling there too. I think I did spinach in here, but honestly, I can't remember. I'm like the worst when it comes to some of this stuff. Over here, we had some beans through the season, trying to fix some of that soil. I put some chard in. This chard is doing way better than the red one over there, even though the red one's coming in, but this one seemed a lot hardier. And then we also had a random cowpea pop up out of nowhere, probably from last year because that's where we grow it. So it was a volunteer. I just left it. You can also see we started to remove some of our wildflowers, mainly because, like I said, the point was that we were going to take this out and start to push the garden that way. And so there will not be wildflowers here next year. So we started chopping them down. So yeah, it's starting to kind of wind down a little bit. As you can see, we didn't get to everything yet because it's a process. And some stuff is still just going like crazy. Look at that. Oh, little butterfly. So beautiful. Has brought in so many butterflies. Again, I've been collecting seeds on this like no tomorrow. Because that's another flower that is just, oh, it like glows this ultraviolet red. I know ultraviolet is not red. I get that, people. But it's like it glows in the dark. It's been really great for adding to the disco garden. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let's move on to this bed and then I'll kind of get into some other stuff. So this bed's been sitting dormant like all summer. I had like one chamomile growing, which has been a great plant that I've been picking a lot off of. But this bed was where we had pumpkin that just got, it brought all the homies to the party, if you know what I mean. I mean, it was just decimated with bugs. It was like a purple Ghirardelli pumpkin or something along those lines. And so we had teddy bear sunflowers. They did amazing in here. The pumpkin ended up just kind of going the way of the dodo bird. We ended up pulling that. It also had nasturtium in here, which looked gorgeous in the spring. A lot of that we would just pull as it was done. But we just recently planted some brassica-based greens in here, as well as some peas. And it does look like the peas are starting to come up. And it even looks like some of the brassica seedlings are slowly but surely starting to come up. And I think that that is because we got some really good rain. So we'll see how that goes. I'm hoping for high hopes. Hoping. Let's see. Our grapes, we ended up pulling some, or got some grapes. Grapes are really hard. I need to find a mechanism that I can process the grapes, because they do have seeds. It's Concord grape. And I got to find a better system for getting the juice extraction, like maybe like a hand crank sort of situation. So maybe in the future. We did let about half of the crop go to waste, basically, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Our goal is really this vine should only be over there. We let it come over here just because, you know, there's nothing here. Whatever grape we had down there, just never, it was a green grape. I never really did anything, so we've ended up cutting it back. I think it's kind of starting to grow back, but we're just going to get rid of that. We do have on that arch over there that I was showing you with the melons and whatnot, we do have a hardy kiwi. And we're thinking about transplanting that hardy kiwi and putting it on this particular trellising and having both of those things side by side. We'll see how that goes. I think it'll be okay. But yeah, we're trying to condense those sorts of things here, letting them thrive, do their thing, to keep some of our perennial fruits kind of in this area. And it does look like our ground cover of the oregano, which we've been building for, God, what seems like years. It's a great ground cover for grapes. It's doing very well to keep the grass down. I mean, you still will get grass. I mean, it's not the end all be all, because, well, this grass is just like the enemy. But in comparison, it really does keep the grass down. I mean, it's mostly oregano. So it's a good ground cover for kind of keeping that down. We also spliced in a couple other plants, like we have a lavender here. We have some, I believe, like hyssop here, maybe something or other. We have like a salvia there. Those might not stay there permanently. We just had that open because there was no oregano growing there. And so we put those plants there. They were like half price. I think this was a seedling I started. We put them there just for now, but they could move around because, like I said, we move stuff around. It's just the name of the game. If we come up over here, these areas on the end of these beds, they might be moving around. It's a lot of hyssop, which I've been gathering a lot of seed. It looks like I have maybe another round of seed to grab on this particular plant. We've got some lavender that looks like it's doing pretty well, but again, like we might move that, condense it into other areas. I'm really happy to see that my lavender is not only staying alive, which almost never happens, but that it's also budding, and it's so pretty. Such a pretty plant. So yeah, so we're still on the fence on if we're going to keep these little end caps or not, because as you remember, we had mustard here, and it really did like come out and completely decimate the pathway. So we're kind of like, do we want to just kind of narrow them a little bit? Oh, we also put zinnias in there, and that ended up being really cool, really pretty. But we're just thinking about, do we want to open up this pathway, keep it open, makes it easy for carts, all that kind of jazzy stuff, and move some of those perennial plants someplace else. So we're tossing around ideas. If you have any ideas of what we should do, drop them in the comments below. We're always open to thoughts, opinions, comments, stuff like that. This bed, like I said, was our mustard bed. It was also our cabbage bed. Cabbage got decimated by the bugs and shaded out by the mustard. Mustard did fabulous. currently we are growing carrots and beets. And the beets have really taken off since we got the rain. Like, holy cow, it did not look like this 2 days ago. But these beets, we're not even like beet fans. Like, we don't know if we're beet fans, but we're growing them just because we're like curious. You know, we're curious to see if it's a food that we can get down with the get down, because we're looking for things that are easy to grow, that are nutritious, and whatnot. And so we're trying beets. We're trying to see if that's something that we can get down with. We did turnips in the other bed, ended up really, really liking them. So yeah, so that's what we're kind of trying to do here. We also have some carrots that are coming up in here. Awesome. You can see this is just us. We're doing the work over there, and I'll show you now what we're doing. Here is the first phase of our wood chips. I have it all the way down here, all the way back there. Stop there, because obviously we need to continue on. But essentially we're just sheet mulching. So you throw down some thick cardboard, you put like a really thick layer of the mulch over top, and then you keep an eye on it. And as grass grows, it's easier to kind of pull out. You can spray it with a vinegar solution, all of that kind of stuff. So we are really excited to get this done to the whole garden area. It's going to take some time though. This took us like a whole day, mainly because trying to get that fabric up with the material on top and the grass growing through it and all that kind of stuff. Whew. Bonkers. So it's going to take us a while. That, and we've got stuff growing over in the pathways, and the garden's still alive, so it's been kind of hard. But our asparagus is doing awesome. Look at this. Like, wow. And I've already staked this up a couple times. It ends up constantly needing to be restaked, but we have put a little bit of our lettuce in here. It looks like we still have some cilantro that's kind of growing in here. I've already harvested some cilantro seed. I'm going to keep doing it though. If it keeps producing, I'm going to keep doing it. We also have some parsley that popped up like out of nowhere. I think these were seeds that I planted in the spring and they just never did anything, and now they are thriving. But yeah, so asparagus is just going to town. Look, a little ladybug. A little ladybug. But yeah, this has been just doing fabulously. Little bugs all over the place, which is great. Usually it's like a ladybug or something along those lines. We even look like we're starting to get the berries from it, which is cool. And it just keeps producing. Like, look, here's a spear right here. This one looks like it got busted. I'm gonna just take that off. But guys, this is gonna be amazing. When we are finally eating off of this, this is going to be amazing. I'm just so excited. The crowns look so good. Producing, and I love that. Again, another little area we might tweak a little. We're still unsure about. I'm going to go down this aisle just so you can kind of get a gauge. So again, just for reference, this is the grapes with the oregano. On this side, we've got our raspberry and our blackberry, and the ground cover I use on that side is chives. I do both purple chives, which flower in the spring, and then I also have garlic chives, which have just finished flowering, but they are flowering in the summer. So it really does bring the pollinators in for a multi-season extravaganza. Our raspberries are, and I said this in a previous video, the flavor is like candy. It was such a great variety that I picked out. I don't remember the name, and I'll drop it in the caption below if I can find it. It's thornless. This is year 2, and it's finally taking off. And it's starting to explode just like our blackberries did. So I'm really excited about this. And I can't wait to see what it looks like next year. And again, here are our garlic chives. Now is the time to start collecting seeds if you want to collect seeds on these. But you can see how thick it gets in there. And I mean, this baby does a great job as a ground cover. I'm just saying. It enhances the flavor of the fruit, in my opinion. You can even see this is what I did back in the spring. These are the purple chives that I added in. And I think it's like that on the other side as well. This side tends to have less of the garlic chives. I am trying to get more to grow in there, just because. And our blackberries do look rough right now, but that is honestly, I'm just going to say it, the cicadas really did a number on them. So it is what it is. Really did a number on them. That, and, you know, we're working with some old canes here. So they will just be cut back as we let new canes grow and do their thing. And it's the end of season, so it's starting to lose its leaves and whatnot. Nothing to be too concerned about. But if you get in there, notice how that little area right there, that is all grass. And that is because it doesn't have the full on ground cover of these chives. So I am hoping that we can get some chives in here and really tamp that down. We do have a little outcropping of some mint that shockingly, be careful putting mint in the ground. But this mint in particular is a pineapple mint. It's not supposed to overwinter. It does here because that's how vigorous mint is. But because it's so shaded, it really doesn't take off anywhere. Like it is just there. And this is the second year and it's still like minimal, like not even really enough for us to eat off of. So just, you know, just food for thought, nothing crazy. And then if we come on this side, so again, we have the end caps. We will probably keep these end caps. Typically I do sage on these end caps. We did have some zinnias here. We have some hyssop, thyme. We've got some tarragon. Something happened to this sage. I don't quite know what happened, but it is what it is. You know, I try to just let things do what they do. And yeah, and just do what they do. Oh, what is that? Oh, that's sage. This is a pineapple sage. It's probably one of my favorites in the garden. Getting a morning snack on the sage flowers. This usually is covered in red flowers, and I don't know if it's location here or what. Maybe it was really hot, but it has not gotten as many flowers as I've seen it do in the past. That's okay. I don't know if we're going to keep it in this spot because it did overwhelm the area. It's gorgeous, obviously, but there may be better areas for it in the coming years. I will always grow pineapple sage though. It's, like I said, it's one of my favorites. It's got a really great flavor. And then we got some more hyssop there. And over here, we've got our candy shop. If you guys remember, we made this kind of bed thing out of an old filing cabinet. It's holding up okay. Some of the paint is fading, so this is kind of sort of what it looked like before, and then you can see on top it's like almost run away, and on the sides it's run away. Strawberries in here did fairly well. Looks like we lost one. I have seen, no joke, grass grow up into this, which means that it grew all the way through that, which is just mind-blowing. You can even kind of see it's starting to kind of grow up right there. So it finds a way. Oh, it finds a way. And then we move on to this section. This is where our blueberry bushes were. May they rest in peace. All 5 of these beds, including those 2 down there. And we took them out. They look like they had leaf scorch, which is a disease that you can't really fix. And so we're pausing on the blueberries. And guys, that breaks my heart because that was like the first thing that we planted in the garden was blueberries. So to have to remove those, oh, it pained me. But honestly, if it's not going to be healthy, I just don't want it taking up space. So that does give us some new area to grow. And at least for this fall, I ended up finding this arch at Goodwill, put that in there. But we are starting to do some peas up in this area, hopefully to get around this arch. And my goal is to get some peas, baby, because we did not have a good run of them in the spring. So we're going to try again. And so that's why I have them everywhere, but specifically here, we're trying to get some peas. We also cut down all of our Mongolian giant sunflowers, and we are trying to save the stalks to make stakes for next year, like stakes around the garden, whether that's for like tomatoes or for our asparagus or to make a teepee, so to speak. But like, look at that. Look at that. That is huge. It's like a little mini tree. So some of those are going to work out really well. Right now we're just curing them. They definitely lose some weight in that process, but they, the Mongolian giants still have quite a bit of weight. But I mean, look at them. It's kind of like bamboo. I think some of it, and I don't know if any of these, yeah. So like you can see some flowers have like a pith on the inside. You can make flour out of that. And as these cure, that opens up. So some people will use these to make bug motels and hotels, which we may do in the future. But yeah, that's so fun. So we've been prepping those right now. They're curing, and then we plan to use them next year. I think that's it for in here. I might touch on a few things outside the garden, and then we will wrap this up. So let's go out here, because there were a couple things that I just remembered that I forgot to tell you guys about, that you may remember from prior videos. So I figured, why not touch on them just a smidge before we wrap up this little video. And also, thanks guys for joining and for sticking around for as long as you have, because I know I am a rambler. But I figure we can just hang. You're sipping on your coffee. Hopefully it's coffee at this time in the morning. And yeah, we're just catching up. We're learning from each other, doing different things. I'm not sitting here saying that what we're doing is right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm just showing you what we're doing. Maybe it'll inspire you. Maybe you're scratching your head being like, oh, these silly kids. Trust. Gardening's supposed to be an experiment. It's supposed to be fun. And I hope that you're coming along and joining us as we have fun with it, Okay, back to the story. So if you guys remember, we did have a tomato lounge here, which had the panels up against the fence. And that was, we wanted to put down the wood chips. So we took it down, but that had our honeycombs, which we will grow again. Every year we're like, let's try something different. And every year people beg us at Nick's work and other places to grow those. So we will most likely grow them again, but not here. We also had some peppers here. Again, that's why I moved the poblano, because it wasn't really doing as well in the pot. Like we had things in grow bags. We also had tomatillos. I had 2 of them. This was my first year to even get them to fruit, but the amount of fruit it was producing, it just wasn't worth it for me. I have heard that you need to do more than even just 2 in order for it to produce a lot of fruit. Maybe in the future I'll try again, but I'm kind of over them at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's good. But nonetheless, we ended up taking that out maybe in August so that we could refresh this area. And then another thing that we took out that you may remember was right in this area. And this was where we had what I'll call the Olympic Stadium, or the gold medal stage, where it was like the 3 compost, like we recycled our old compost boards, and we made, it's like kind of like Lincoln Logs, how you put it together. And we made a 3-bin system here, one where we ended up putting the sweet potatoes because we finally found some slips that we wanted to use. No, we did not have any of our own slips. So that's why we were looking for them, and I guess they get released a little bit later, and we did not realize that. So when we did finally find some, we threw this makeshift bed together. We put some potatoes in there. That was a 4x4 box, and then flanked on either side was a mix of beans, herbs, and I did try some zucchini again. We never have luck with zucchini. Ever. I lived up north and never had a problem growing zucchini. Matter of fact, I almost didn't grow zucchini because it grew so much. I mean, it's that saying, you know, like you can't even give it away. For some reason in the South, the bugs, it like, the vine borers in particular, it's almost like impossible. We did get 2 off of those that I planted before the vine borers got them. We did get 2 zucchini. The variety was gray zucchini, I think is what it's called. And I'll be honest, they're like on the smaller side. They probably only get to about 3 to 4 inches long. The flavor on those was absolutely amazing. Like, really, really good. Now I want zucchini. You know what I mean? Now I want to find some success. So we've been doing some research on possibly doing some like mounding type grow situations where we just keep piling more dirt as the season goes on, so that if vine borers do get to them, they have enough of a root system that they can survive the vine borer doing whatever it's doing. So we had that here. Now sweet potatoes. Last year when we did it in the garden, we did an 8x3 bed. I showed you that bed, 12 inches deep. I think we did 12 slips. We either did 6 slips or 12 slips. And we had over 50 pounds of sweet potato, huge sweet potato. Like I've never seen sweet potato that big before. We canned a bunch of sweet potato. We froze a bunch of sweet potato. It was amazing. And it kind of solidified for us that we want to do more sweet potato or continue to do sweet potato, all that kind of stuff. This year, I think we made a huge, huge error. And I even think I knew it as we were doing it, but we did it anyway because we were trying to save money. So in trying to fill these new beds that were deep, to save space, you guys are going to roast me for this. I know, trust, I know how silly it is that I'm even going to say this, but we put the bottom with some bales of straw, which literally, in my opinion, created like a compost situation where it hot composted underneath of the dirt. But we did that to like raise the dirt up so we didn't have to buy as much dirt. While in the end, we maybe got moderate sweet potatoes at best. It was more vine than anything. So needless to say, we will not be doing that next year. Nick's already kind of looking into a new method with sweet potato, particularly in that new area where you just put the slips in and you're not even growing for the idea of food, you're growing as a ground cover. And if you get food from it, you can just go pick from it whenever you need it. And so we're exploring that. We might do that next year. We'll see. But nonetheless, we took that bed out and again did the wood chips. And just to reiterate, once this kind of slows down a little bit, we'll be taking that out. We're going to be moving this fig tree and that fig tree over to that area over there. We've already got a spot picked out. We will also be moving this lilac a little bit further away from the compost. It'll be still in this area, but it just won't be there. We're also thinking about getting, for this particular area, because we've had pretty good luck with it so far from a price perspective and what it can do, we're thinking about putting in some arborvitae, like the tall skinny ones that we have like growing over there. I'll show you in a minute. Maybe putting in like 3 or 4 of them, and then flanking similar to what we're doing on that fence over there. And we'll go take a walk over there, but where it's arborvitae for the privacy and for the wintertime greenery and for, you know, birds and things to nest in there, coupled with mixing in some of our perennials that we kind of, you know, smother in here, whatever that may look like. So we're hoping to really get this area kind of lush with perennials. So it's a nice little cozy seating area. And as you know, we have our tulip poplar here. This was a plant that we planted, I think 2 springs ago or earlier this year. It might have even been earlier this year. I can't remember now. Wow. But it's a tulip poplar. It's native to Tennessee. We got it from the Tennessee Environmental Council for next to nothing, as like a seedling root. And she's thriving. She's doing really well. These are fast growers, so I imagine this will double in size next year. And real quick, I know you might not, let's go take a walk. I don't know if you guys remember this tree. This is a maple. It grew itself in a empty pot that we had up near the house, as like, you know, one of those little twirly whirls. Landed in a pot, seeded itself, and we left it for 2 or 3 years just to do its thing. And I think around the time that we planted the other tree, we decided to plant this here, and guys, she is thriving. This thing, I did like a picture in spring and a picture like a couple months ago, and it's doubled in size. I mean, it is just shooting up there. Now, I do think it's getting quite a bit tall, like top heavy tall, because it gets the shade from the hackberries in the summertime. But she's growing. I mean, she's looking really good. Her trunk is looking really good. We did a little work over here. Since I'm over here, I'll show you. We did a little work over here. Wood chipped it all out. We did wood chip this area because we were thinking about maybe changing out this gate to make it so that we can, you know, move stuff. We were even thinking about putting a step there, making that the entrance to the backyard, but we're probably going to keep it over there. We just got to figure out a stair solution, but we may still turn this into a gate situation just so that we can have, you know, access for wood chips and things like that. But we have some plants here, some hostas and whatnot that do okay because it's a weird shade, not shade situation. But I did move, we had these grasses out front, and so I did transplant them all back here to see if we can start to, you know, just diversify the plants. I didn't want them out front. These came with the house. We were always mowing over them underneath the magnolia tree. And so I figured, well, if I don't want them under the magnolia tree because we're mowing under there, let me transplant them to the back of the house. So these didn't cost us anything. So yeah, we just moved them back here. And then we've got, you know, our row of phlox that have seemed to do really, really well. Kind of over here, I moved some Russian sage around. We did have some zinnias and stuff kind of here and some pots. And as the season changed, I kind of changed it out a little bit. But the phlox did really well this year, really spread quite a bit. It's hard to see now because of the leaves, but it did a really good job. All right, let's go over here real quick. I'm not going to show the front yard, but we did plant some trees out front. Both native, and then we also did some more of these arborvitae along that fence right there on the other side. So hopefully that turns out really well. A big part of why we cut this down was because it was shading out our lilac and also this butterfly bush that I kind of stuck here before we knew we were going to do sunflowers. We are going to be moving this, and I am going to be moving it into this row. So here is one of its siblings. Like literally it came, I had one of these, and when I dug it up, I got 3. And so that was one of them. This is the other. And then the biggest one's down here. I think that the sun hits these plants a little bit differently down here, but I'm planning to put it right there. There's the other one, which looks like it's dying back, which happens. You know, I don't think it's dying. It's just that it's dying back. Our hibiscus, our starry night hibiscus, is finally coming into her own this year. My goodness. The flowers are just absolutely gorgeous. Just gorgeous. The leaves are just gorgeous. I can't say enough about this plant. I mean, we have another one down there. Has gotten huge. And then these flags right here, this is where we're planning to put the fig tree. So we have a lilac and we have our arborvitae, and we're gonna put the fig tree right there to fill in kind of those gaps. But this is what it looks like off of the fence. So our goal is for this to really kind of fill up, where the back part here tends to remain somewhat clear. It will tighten up as these grow, but the goal is for this to kind of fill in. And I think that this butterfly bush is doing a really good job of it. So I'm going to come around here real quick and show you. So as you can see, it's hard to see because of the sun, but this has really kind of filled in. These will eventually get taller and kind of frame that area, and then you have just these bushes that kind of take over that space, which is kind of what we're looking for. You know, the front row to kind of be the bushier, shorter stuff. These get tall, create some of that privacy, and everything kind of starts to mingle and flow together. These have definitely grown quite a bit in one season alone. We got the smallest of the small. I think they were $10 a pop. Maybe only like 12 inches tall. They've definitely gotten bushier, and they look like they're starting to really come into their own. We got the same ones for just on the other side of this fence, which again, I'm not going to show, but we've got 6 out there. And it's also what I want to get for back there as well. And then here's our other lilac, which this one's looking scarier. But actually this one has really come into its own this past season. Its inner workings are looking fabulous. It does look like it has lost some leaves, and it's continuing to do that. But this thing really took on some size this year, and I'm hoping if we don't do the wildflowers along that fence like we did last year, I'm hoping that that one down there also gets to this size. What I do notice though is that of this fence line, things that are on this side tend to be a little bit larger than things on that side. And I'm not quite sure exactly what it is. I have some thoughts. Like maybe that gets a different type of sun versus over here because of where the sun comes up. And it could also be water drainage. So it's interesting. Oh, look at that. Sorry to digress. We got a little dandelion coming up. But yeah, so we'll see how that plays out. I'm hoping that we can get everything to get super bushy. But like I said, we're going to have some fig trees there. We're hoping that they do a little bit better. Hoping, because we got one tree this year that got like 3 fruit on it, and then the fruit just poof, died at the last minute. I don't know. So we're hoping that we can get some good fruit production, maybe moving them over there, getting them settled over there, all of that kind of stuff. And last but not least, as we tie up a bow on the end of this, this is another half-price lilac that I got. This one, it was a white one versus the others, which were a lilac color. This one too will be moving back to that area, because why not, you know? Woo, guys. What a season, I'll tell you. And we're still not done. So things that we're looking to do. Obviously, we're going to continue on with the wood chips, doing the pathways, all of that kind of stuff. Right now, I am in the throes of seed saving, whether that is collecting seeds or, extracting and harvesting the seeds. I'm looking to do a huge seed giveaway on Instagram and Facebook. So if you guys follow me there, keep an eye out, because we will be doing kind of like a little giveaway to all of our followers, of different types of seeds that we're growing. And I've got a cool idea for it, so I think you guys would have fun with that. And yeah, starting to plan next year's garden, which is like mind-blowing, that we're already entering into that spot. Like I said, I think we have big plans for over here. We still have those big plans. We just know that it's going to probably take a bit more than what we're capable of over the winter, but we'll see. We'll see how we pull it out, But with that being said, I think I'm going to leave it here because this video is going to be like 20 bajillion hours long, and I ain't trying to do that to you guys, and I apologize. But I hope that you had fun catching up with the disco garden, seeing what we have going on our little acre, what we're growing, some thoughts, things we're experimenting with, all of that jazzy good stuff. Plus, it was just nice to see you, So I hope you had fun, and hopefully we can catch back up soon. Maybe? Take care, guys. Bye.